It was in fact an assassination. But the most fascinating part of it is the motive, and especially the circumstances that unraveled shortly before he passed on. They're extremely revealing. Karibu sana to one of my great shows. Oh yes. Now, very quickly, before the bishop became a political activist, let's look at his early life. He was born amongst the Nandi community, and it is said he started behaving strangely from a very young age, contrary to what would be considered normal amongst Nandi children at that time. For instance, with no Christian teachings or background or religious teaching of any manner, he stubbornly refused to partake in the rites of the community, traditional rites. It is instructive to note that the destiny of anybody is normally revealed very early in their lives. And anybody who has studied biographies and the lives of great people will know exactly what I'm talking about. And then he joined the military. Oh yes, many people don't know that. And led a life of the world until he collided with destiny in 1973. After listening to a sermon about Jesus' encounter with the tax collector, his life changed forever. He left the military, gave his life to the Lord, and committed himself to serve mankind and his God for the rest of his life. And his zeal saw him quickly climb up the ranks of the Anglican Church until he became bishop. He is reputed to have started the Eldoret diocese from scratch, and it was inevitable that he would soon come in the crosshairs of the government of Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi then, by speaking out on behalf of the long-suffering Kenyans he met every day in his projects and preaching all over the country. In June 1999, Bishop Muge, alongside with his Maseno counterpart, Bishop Okulu, held a press conference, and they demanded the immediate resignation of President Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi, and then a free and fair election after that to get a new president for the country. At the time, it was perhaps the most bold statement that had ever been made against the dreaded Moi regime. The country was in shock. And in those days, the politics was such that KANU politicians competed with each other as to who would be seen more loyal than the other. And of course, in such circumstances, many times politicians went overboard with their pronouncements and declarations, which is exactly what happened when on 12th August, Labour Minister Peter Okondo at the time came out and warned Bishop Muge that were he to step anywhere in Western Province, and especially in Busia, he would see fire, and most probably he would not leave that area alive. Now, Bishop Muge was not the kind of person to hesitate or even think twice when it came to fulfilling his duty in serving God and man. And so his response to Okondo's statement was predictable. He told the minister that his blood, his innocent blood, Muge's blood, would haunt him forever if anything happened to him, Muge. And 3 days later, 2 or 3 days later, on the 14th of August, 1990, Bishop Muge visited the Busia diocese to a rousing welcome from Kenyans. And his rally went well, without incident. And towards evening, he led the small convoy of his diocese back to Eldoret. And at around 7 p.m., as his vehicle was approaching the Kipkaren River, a milk truck, a Mitsubishi Fuso milk truck, lost control, according to eyewitnesses, or seemed to lose control, and headed directly for the bishop's vehicle, hit it at high speed, and dragged the vehicle over several meters, until a ditch stopped the wreckage. It took first responders over an hour working through the wreckage to remove and rescue the body of the bishop. When the news reached Kenyans, they were in shock. And naturally, the first suspect was the Labour Minister, Peter Okondo, who had made those careless remarks barely 2 days earlier. And in those days, resigning from government was extremely rare. As rare as lack of corruption in Kenya. But under intense pressure from very angry Kenyans, who are well aware of the valuable and great son they had lost, Peter Okondo did the very rare thing, and on 20th August 1990 resigned. It is worth noting that this politician's life from then on, his political career took a nosedive. Despite the great things he had done for his constituents, ever since he was elected at independence. His supporters to this day say that the late Peter Okondo was a victim of defending something that could not be defended. The KANU government of Daniel Toroitich arap Moi. Now, what really happened there? Where have you heard of a government warning somebody that they're going to assassinate them, and then going ahead and assassinating them a few days later, 2 days later, 2 days after the warning? Where have you heard? And yet we know the government were involved through the testimony of a former special branch officer who was in the intelligence community at the time, Inspector James Lando Huatenge. Inspector Huatenge, in 2012, told the Truth, Justice and Reconciliation Commission that indeed Muge was assassinated by police officers who had come from Nairobi. But then he added something very strange and confusing. He said the hit was not as a result of any order. No direct order came from anybody in government. And especially not from President Moi. Now hold on a minute. Is that true? Are there instances when the intelligence community act on their own without an executive order? Now we'll come back to answer that question because it is key in solving the Alexander Muge assassination. But before we go there, there's another key piece of information I want to give you. After the Alexander Muge demise, I noticed at the time that the presidential security of President Moi went overboard. I mean, those guys were just paranoid. And at the time, I reasoned that maybe they were scared or they had credible information that those fighting for multi-party democracy were planning something evil against the president. But today, I have a different theory.